Hello everyone, kia ora, and welcome to this video about the new moon in Taurus that's coming up on the 20th of May. My name is Fiona of Sun and Moon Calendar.nz, and in this video I'm going to look at the astrology for New Zealand, Aotearoa, that can also apply to the Southern Hemisphere in general. First of all, I'm going to turn over the calendar so we can look at the lunar months and how they relate to the solar year as we're coming to the end of our solar year for the Southern Hemisphere. So as many of you know, I've made a calendar in which the lunar months are mapped out rather than the calendar months, so that we're following the new moon and full moon cycles. So this calendar starts just after summer solstice, which was on the 21st of December. Then we had a new moon in Capricorn on the 23rd of December. So that was our lunar month of Capricorn. Then we had Aquarius. And unusually, we have had two new moons in Aries this year. So there's Pisces. So we had our first new moon in Aries. And then our second new moon in Aries, which we're just coming to the end of as I record this. Then we're moving on now to the lunar month of Taurus. So normally in the lunar month of Taurus, it is the month of Piperi, and you can see the stars of Piperi, Hamal and Sharatan, but they're not actually visible yet. This month has come early this year. Looking over the page, next month in the lunar month of Gemini, we will have winter solstice on the 22nd, and then Matariki is going to appear around about that time, depending on where you are. If you're further to the east, you'll see it first. And then we'll have the celebration for Matariki on the 14th of July in the Tangaroa phase of the moon, so that's the last quarter of the moon. And this is different for Puanga. So the people over in the western parts of the country are more likely to celebrate Puanga, and it looks like Puanga will be rising in early June, or visible from early to mid-June. So that's exciting. We're heading into an exciting time of the year where we can celebrate the turn of the year in this country, in the Southern Hemisphere. I hope one day we'll do as big a celebration as the normal calendar 1st of January, New Year's Eve is for this time. We're heading there already, aren't we, in this country? Awesome. Though I want to acknowledge that Matariki and Puanga are celebrated as seasons rather than this one date where you put everything into it. Oh, also to recognise Puanga is Rigel in English. Oh, I actually just looked up how do you pronounce Rigel, Puanga. I think it might be Rigel, not Rigel. Well, the new moon in Taurus takes place early in the morning, 4 a.m. on Saturday, the 20th of May. And if you do like getting up early in the morning and going out to look at the sky, if you look towards the north, you will see Saturn. And in the east, just risen up, and we should be able to see them before the sun comes up, Jupiter, and near it Mercury. And once again, it's unusual to see Mercury. It's usually so close to the sun that you can't see it, but if you see a star that's actually a planet just near Jupiter, that might be Mercury, planet of communication and thinking, that is just turned direct. When I say look towards the east, I actually mean more towards the northeast, the ecliptic path where the sun and the planets rise from the east in the morning. It actually has moved around to the northeast, and that's because we are so close to the winter solstice. So here we can see the new moon, the sun and moon together at 28 degrees of Taurus. So it's very late in the sign of Taurus. So the energy of Taurus is affected by its ruling planet, which is Venus. And Venus is one of the luckiest and happiest planets in the zodiac. It's about material luxuries, pleasure, sensuality, love, harmonious connections. That's also in the sign of Libra. For Taurus, it's about those tangible luxuries and pleasures in life, what we can see, feel and touch, and absolutely love touching and seeing and feeling, beauty and pleasure. And the element of Taurus is earth. So Taurus is very grounded and practical, solid and stable, and values those material things that come from the earth, resources, and even in that symbolic form of money, that energy of the tangible things of the earth. The modality of Taurus is fixed, and that means that the Taurus energy is dependable and steady. It will plod along and do the practical things that need to be done, look for stability and steadiness. And so we have a new moon in the sign of Taurus. We're out of Mercury retrograde and we can move forward. Nevertheless, at the time of the new moon, for that couple of days around then, take a moment to pause and rest and contemplate. There's a lot of change in the air, and with Taurus's fixed and steady nature, that change doesn't always come easily. We'll talk about that as we go through the video. When you can see the crescent moon in the sky as a little sliver, that is time to get started on the new things for that lunar month. So set some intentions and then get going on them when you see that crescent moon. Let's look at the other energies going on at this time. It is a crunchy time of this year, I have to say. Okay, so I'm going to talk about the stellium in Taurus. We've got so many planets in Taurus. Mercury is now direct. Jupiter has just moved into Taurus. That's a big one, once in 12 years. And we have a grand fixed cross to contend with. The stellium in Taurus. So in the sign of Taurus, just to remind you, even though I've just talked about it, Taurus is about what you can see, feel, touch, taste. It's about growing things. It's about the earth, looking after the earth. It's about the resources that come from the earth. It's practical. It's about finances, financial matters, and money. Now look at this lineup. That is so many planets in one sign. Jupiter newly moved in out of Aries, and that's a once in 12-year transit. North Node, which is not a planet, but it's the eclipse point. Mercury, newly direct. Uranus, planet of freedom, truth, revolution, new ideas, innovation. The moon and the sun coming together in that new moon and giving added focus. The whole spread of Taurus is covered from 0 degrees to 28 degrees. So all of this focus on those matters of Taurus. So we're likely to see this on the personal level, where we will have additional focus on things Taurus, perhaps our gardens, growing things, perhaps our finances, perhaps practical matters, looking after our resources. And we're likely also to see this on a collective level, whether this is at a national level or an international level. There may be issues arising or attention and focus on resources, supply chains, finances, financial systems, money. Let's see what happens. Okay, now looking at Mercury, which has just moved direct. We've had the Mercury retrograde. Lots of things got discovered that needed to be sorted out over the last 3 weeks. I've found that in my life, sorting them out. And now Mercury is direct with this new moon. There'll be still some things to sort out as Mercury goes back over that area where it was retrograde, over its shadow. But we are basically in better forward motion now. Just to remind you, Mercury is about thinking processes, logic, analysis, learning and communication, decision making also. So all of those can go more smoothly with more progress now. And by the time we get to the new moon, Jupiter will have just moved into the sign of Taurus at 0 degrees of Taurus. So let's talk about Jupiter. Jupiter is a lucky planet. It's expansive, optimistic, it brings opportunity. It is also a believer in justice, freedom, and truth. It's also a planet of higher learning and belief systems, and it's going to be bringing good luck and expansiveness and opportunity to Taurus over the next year. That's how long it will be in Taurus. So it's moving out of Aries and it's left some lucky things behind for the Aries people. And now it's moving into Taurus, and everyone has Taurus in their chart, so we're all going to have some luck in whatever area that is. However, the first part of Jupiter's journey through Taurus is not going to be quite so easy, just for a few weeks, because it's forming part of a grand cross, and I'm going to talk about that next. So a grand cross is made up of 4 different squares, 4 different points in the chart, opposite and right angles to each other. With the grand cross, we'll go one by one. We've got the North Node and the South Node, and they are always opposite each other. Those are the eclipse points, and as you know, we've been having our eclipses in the signs of Taurus and Scorpio, and the last 2 lunations were eclipses, as I talked about in my videos. Eclipses bring high energy, they bring fated changes, and these can be sudden realizations or changes that can come from external or internal sources, but they can be sudden and shocking. Okay, wherever the North Node is, that is where we are moving towards on our soul's journey, and sometimes the universe will bring sudden changes that bring us closer to that. Wherever the South Node is, that is what we are leaving behind. So perhaps we had many past lives in some of the energy of that South Node, and sometimes there are incidents in our life that make us leave behind that old familiar area, and that forces us to move into where we need to go. And this can happen on the collective level as well. And we've been going through 18 months of eclipses in Taurus and Scorpio, and this has really brought about that focus on Taurus matters, resources, money. So there's all this talk about changes with the financial systems. There's been all these disruptions and changes with supply chains and with the way that we grow, eat, share food. Okay, we have got just this last little bit of those eclipse points being in Taurus. In July, they're going to move into Aries and Libra, and then we'll become more focused on relationships. But now there's a little bit more work to do, and this grand cross is bringing focus and attention and energy to that split between what we're leaving behind and what we're moving forward to. Okay. Added to that, we have got Jupiter basically conjunct within a couple of degrees with the North Node. Jupiter bringing expansion, some protection, a sense of justice, and what is right and good to what's going on. So I think that Jupiter will have a helpful focus, although the expansion might mean something like inflation. We'll see. At the top of the chart, as you saw before, we have got Pluto just at that first degree, 0 degree of Aquarius, and it's going to move back shortly into Capricorn. Pluto at right angles to the lunar nodes is something that's going to be in action over most of the rest of the year, pretty active. And where you've got something between the lunar nodes at that right angles, you've got a skipped step, and that means it's something we really need to work on and sort out so that we can move towards our destiny. So Pluto, remembering that is about deep secrets, hidden layers of meaning, hidden power, extremes, intensity, and psychology, the layers of the subconscious. And at the other end, and this is not going to last for as long, we have got Mars, which is just in the last degree of Cancer, about to move into Leo. And Mars can bring conflict, anger, tension, frustration, wanting to fight, and also it can bring the cutting of ties. It's about sharp instruments, and it can just mean things are severed. So Mars won't be there for too long. That's the one that will move on the soonest. But you can see there's a lot of tension there. And it might mean that we are feeling under great pressure to change and do things and take sudden action that could be a little bit too reactive. So we probably need to try and step back and make sure that we can respond positively from an outlook of win-win and hoping for the best, for the highest good of all in every situation. But we will be going through tension, so we do need to accept that. So we do have a storm to ride through. We've got this fixed cross. Squares and oppositions are always tense in astrology. And because it's fixed, and all the fixed signs, that is Taurus and Scorpio and Aquarius and Leo shortly with Mars, the fixed signs, they don't like change, or change is harder for them. And so it might be like we're holding on, wanting to stay the same, but there's a lot of pressure to change, and then we might just change too suddenly, and then there's some repercussions. But I want to say a few things that can be reassuring with astrology. One of them, of course, it's a storm to ride, but a storm will pass. So this too shall pass, and it might be a few weeks of tension. Secondly, a lot of the tension might actually be coming from within our own selves, and that gives us some measure of control over it. So if we're looking after ourselves and our nervous system and helping ourselves stay grounded, that will help so that we can step back and see the situation for what it is and make rational decisions about how to move forward. Change is necessary though with this. And finally, whatever's going on with the challenging aspects of astrology, and of course they come and go like always, but we've also always got the good stuff going on, and we've got the higher expressions of all those planets, the higher expression of Mars, that is our drive and initiative and taking action, and the higher expressions of Pluto, which is understanding deep power and deep psychology and healing and transforming, and the North Node and the South Node, where we leave behind what is familiar and we move to the future. And we've always got the joy and the pleasure of Venus and Venus things, and we've always got optimism and opportunity that can come with Jupiter. And Venus is the ruling planet of Taurus, where all that energy is, and Venus is going through Cancer during this time, and Venus and Cancer are happy together. So Venus is happy, enjoy some pleasures and enjoy the feelings of and sensitivities of Cancer and home comforts. Things to think about with the new moon in the sign of Taurus. How can you appreciate and look after your resources, your material wealth, your finances, your food, your stores and your pantry? All of that is Taurus, your garden. What sensual pleasures and luxuries do you want to enjoy in life? This is a new moon of the year where it's a really good time to think about that and set some intentions. What will help you to come back to your senses, to calm your nervous system, to ground yourself? Whether it's having a dust bath in the winter sunshine or the late autumn sunshine, or walking on the grass, going for a walk in the hills, walking on the beach, something outdoors is likely to be a really good thing to do to ground yourself. How is your sense of self-worth? And with Pluto's influence in that mix on that grand cross, we have another opportunity to go within, look at our shadow sides. Do we value ourselves enough? Do we put enough effort and attention into caring for ourselves, wearing good quality clothing, looking after our clothes, and the trappings of life and wealth that surround us? Do we look after those? And if not, why not? Is there something inside that's stopping us looking after ourselves and the things in life that we need to look after ourselves? And what is your intention or intentions for this new moon? What do you want to start after you see the crescent moon in the sky? And this might be something that is grounded, earthy and practical, connected with the earth, looking after the earth, looking after your resources, that Taurus style. There we go, everyone. That is my presentation about the new moon in Taurus that's coming up on the 20th of May. I wish you all the best for the month. Kia pato marama. If you like this video, please like, comment or subscribe. And thanks to those who have done that already. It's been lovely watching the subscriber list growing, and I do like seeing your comments. Thank you. And yeah, I expect I'll be carrying on doing these videos, so you'll probably see me in another video in the future. Ka kite anō.